Everything starts with an E.
And this is the best.
My love, there's only you in my life, the only thing that's right.
My first love, your every breath that I take, your every step I make.
And I want to share all my love with you. No one else will do.
And your eyes,
They tell me how much you care. Oh.
read my lips, take dictation.
So this is Remix, right? And it's important to emphasize that what this is not what we call, quote, piracy. I'm not talking about nor justifying people taking other people's content in wholesale and distributing it without the permission of the copyright owner. I'm talking about people taking and recreating, using other people's content, using digital technologies to say things differently. Now, the importance of this is not the technique that you've seen here. Because, of course, every technique that you've seen here is something that television and film producers have been able to do for the last 50 years. The importance is that that technique has been democratized. It is now anybody with access to a $1,500 computer who can take sounds and images from the culture around us and use it to say things differently. These tools of creativity have become tools of speech. It is a literacy for this generation. This is how our kids speak. It is how our kids think. It is what your kids are as they increasingly understand digital technologies and their relationship to themselves. Now, in response to this new use of culture using digital technologies, the law has not greeted this Sousa revival with very much common sense. Instead, the architecture of copyright law and the architecture of digital technologies as they interact have produced the presumption that these activities are illegal. Because if copyright law at its core regulates something called copies, then in a digital world, the one fact we can't escape is that every single use of culture produces a copy. Every single use, therefore, requires permission. Without permission, you are a trespasser. You're a trespasser with about as much sense as these people were trespassers. Right? Common sense here, though, has not yet revolted in response to this response that the law has offered to these forms of creativity. Instead, what we've seen is something much worse than a revolt. There's a growing extremism that comes from both sides in this debate in response to this conflict between the law and the use of these technologies. One side builds new technologies, such as one recently announced that will enable them to automatically take down from sites like YouTube any content that has any copyrighted content in it, whether or not there's a judgment of fair use that might be applied to the use of that content. And on the other side, among our kids, there's a growing copyright abolitionism, a generation that rejects the very notion of what copyright is supposed to do, rejects copyright and believes that the law is nothing more than an ass to be ignored and to be fought at every opportunity possible. The extremism on one side begets extremism on the other, a fact we should have learned many, many times over. And both extremes in this debate are just wrong. Now, the balance that I try to fight for, I, as any good liberal, tried to fight for first by looking to the government. Total mistake, right? Looked first to the courts and the legislatures to try to get them to do something to make the system make more sense. It failed, partly because the courts are too passive, partly because the legislatures are corrupted, by which I don't mean that there's bribery operating to stop real change, but more the economy of influence that governs how Congress functions means that policymakers here will not understand this until it's too late to fix it. So we need something different. We need a different kind of solution. And the solution here, in my view, is a private solution. A solution that looks to legalize what it is to be young again and to realize the economic potential of that. And that's where the story of BMI becomes relevant. Because as BMI demonstrated, competition here can achieve some form of balance. The same thing can happen now. We don't have a public domain to draw upon now, so instead what we need is two types of changes. First, that artists and creators embrace the idea, choose, that their work be made available more freely. So for example, they can say their work is available freely for non-commercial, this amateur type of use, but not freely for any commercial use. And second, we need the businesses that are building out this read-write culture to embrace this opportunity expressly, to enable it, so that this ecology of free content or freer content can grow on a neutral platform where they both exist simultaneously, so that more free can compete with less free, and the opportunity to develop the creativity in that competition can teach one the lessons of the other. Now, I would talk about one particular such plan that I know something about, but I don't want to violate Ted's first commandment of selling, so I'm not